Welcome to EnglishStoryCast, your daily boost of clear, simple English. Let's begin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are going to talk about a problem that I think every single person learning a language has felt. It's a very specific kind of fear.
I think I know what you're talking about. Is it that moment in a class or a meeting where you know the answer, you want to speak, the words are right there in your mind?
Exactly. But you stay silent. You don't raise your hand. You don't say anything, and the moment passes. Why do we do that? It's not because we don't know the answer. It's because we are afraid.
We're afraid of making a mistake. We're afraid of sounding stupid. We're afraid that our grammar won't be perfect, that our pronunciation won't be flawless. It's a paralysis of perfection.
That is the perfect name for it. Perfection paralysis. We have this idea in our heads that we must be 100% perfect before we are allowed to speak. And that voice in our head, that self-criticism, is often our worst enemy.
It really is. So let me ask our listeners a question. How many opportunities to practice your English have you lost this week? Not because you didn't know the words, but simply because you were afraid of not being perfect.
Today, we are going to talk about that fear. We are going to expose the myth of perfection. And hopefully, we are going to give you permission to let it go. That feeling of paralysis, it reminds me of a story I once heard about a young actress. She was very talented, but she was obsessed with perfection. Before every show, she would memorize her lines until they were flawless.
That sounds like a lot of pressure.
It was. And her performances were technically perfect, but they felt a little cold, a little robotic. The audience could feel her tension. She was so focused on not making a mistake that she forgot to be a real person on stage.
I can imagine that. She was broadcasting her fear to the audience.
Exactly. Then, one very important night, her worst fear happened. In the middle of a big speech, her mind went completely blank. She forgot her line. The silence felt like an hour.
Oh, wow. That's the nightmare scenario for a perfectionist. What does she do?
Well, first she panicked inside, but then she just breathed. She looked at the audience, smiled a little, and said, "I am so sorry. I was so in this moment that I completely forgot what I was supposed to say."
And the audience?
They laughed, but it was a warm, kind laugh. And then they started to clap. In that moment, by admitting her mistake, she stopped being a perfect robot and became a human being. The rest of her performance was the best of her life. She was relaxed, funny, and powerful.
That's an amazing story. So her small imperfection didn't break the show. It actually made the connection with the audience even stronger.
Precisely. She learned that letting go of perfection was the secret. Her mistake wasn't a failure. It was the moment she finally became real.
It really is a great lesson about connection. And that same idea applies to creativity, too. I have a similar story about a chef.
Oh, a chef. I like that. Was he also a perfectionist?
A total perfectionist. He was a young chef at a fancy restaurant, and he was trying to replicate a very famous, very complicated recipe from a legendary French chef. He wanted every single step to be flawless, exactly like the textbook.
I can already feel the stress. He was trying to be a perfect copy.
He was, and he tried again and again, but every time something was just a little off. It wasn't perfect. His self-criticism was making him miserable. He felt like a failure because he couldn't copy the recipe perfectly.
So what happened? How did he break that cycle?
Well, one night he was tired and frustrated. He was making the dish again, and he made a mistake. He reached for one ingredient, but he accidentally grabbed the wrong spice.
He didn't realize it until it was too late. The dish was ruined.
Oh no! All that hard work and he had to throw it away?
He was about to, but he was so frustrated that he just took a bite first to see how bad it was. And it was incredible. It was completely different from the original recipe, but it was delicious. That mistake created a totally new flavor.
That's a happy accident.
Exactly. He learned that by trying to be a perfect copy, he was failing. But by embracing mistakes, he found his own creative voice. That new dish became the most popular item on his menu.
The story of the actress and the story of the chef both teach us the exact same lesson. Success did not come from being perfect. Success came from being real, being creative, and embracing mistakes.
Exactly. And this brings us to the most important idea for learning English. It's a concept that teachers call fluency over accuracy.
That sounds important. Let's define those two words. First, what is accuracy?
Accuracy is being 100% correct. It's using the perfect grammar, the perfect vocabulary, the perfect pronunciation. It's the goal of the perfectionist. It's the flawless performance.
And what is fluency?
Fluency is simpler. Fluency is the ability to communicate your idea. It's about getting your message from your brain to the other person's brain, even if you make mistakes. The main goal is not perfection. The main goal is connection.
This is such an important difference. As a learner, if you wait for perfect accuracy, you will never speak. But if you aim for fluency, you can start speaking today.
Let's use a very simple example. A student wants to tell a story. They say, "Yesterday I go to the cinema." Now, is that grammatically perfect? Is that accurate?
No, of course not. The correct word is went.
Right. But did you understand the idea? Did the message arrive?
Yes, perfectly. I know exactly what they mean.
And that is fluency. That is a successful communication. The message was delivered. That is a win. We need to stop punishing ourselves for the small grammar mistake and start celebrating the big communication victory.
That is such a liberating idea. Focus on connection, not perfection. But I can hear some of our listeners thinking, I understand, but I still feel terrible when I make a mistake. How do I stop that feeling?
That is the big question. And the answer is that you have to change your relationship with mistakes. You have to change your mindset. There's a famous idea by a psychologist named Carol Dweck about the growth mindset.
A growth mindset. Okay, what is that?
A person with a fixed mindset believes their abilities are permanent. They think, I am either good at English or I am bad at English. When they make a mistake, it proves to them that they are bad.
And that feels terrible. It feels like a final judgment. But what about the growth mindset?
A person with a growth mindset believes their abilities can change and grow with effort. When they make a mistake, their reaction is totally different. They think, this is hard, but I am learning. This mistake is showing me what I need to practice more.
So the mistake is not a final judgment. It's just information. It's a signpost on the path, not a wall that stops you.
Exactly. Every mistake you make in English is proof. It's proof that you are trying. It's proof that you are pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. And that is the only place where real learning can happen.
So, practically, when you make a mistake and that self-criticism voice starts, what do?
You can try to rename that voice. Instead of hearing, you are so stupid, you learn to hear, that was a good mistake. That's my learning voice. That means I'm getting better. You have to celebrate the fact that you were brave enough to try.
So, this myth of perfection is just a story we tell ourselves. It's the story that keeps us silent and afraid. But we've learned today from the actress and the chef that our imperfections are what make us human and creative.
And we've learned that in language, our goal is not flawless accuracy. Our goal is fluency. It's connection. It's letting go of that self-criticism and adopting a growth mindset.
So, right now, we want to officially give everyone listening permission to be imperfect. The goal of learning English is not to sound like a perfect robot or a native speaker from a movie. The goal is to share your ideas, your opinions, and your personality with the world.
You are much more interesting than your grammar mistakes. So we have a different kind of challenge for you this week, a new kind of homework.
What is it?
Your task this week is not to avoid mistakes. Your task is to go out and collect them. We want you to be brave. Try to have a conversation, write a comment, or ask a question in English. And the moment you make your first mistake, we don't want you to feel bad. We want you to celebrate.
Celebrate the mistake. I love that.
Yes, because that mistake is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of courage. It is the proof that you are trying, that you are pushing yourself, and that you are, in that very moment, learning.
That is the perfect way to end. Be brave enough to be imperfect. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you in the next episode.